Pradeepa Narayanaswamy here. I'm a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org. I'm an enterprise Agile coach with Cox Auto, and I'm also a life coach, and I have my own company, Possibilities.
Hi, I'm Rob Pieper, CEO of Responsive Advisors based out of Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Chad Beier, professional Scrum trainer, Agile coach, consultant trainer based out of Wisconsin.
And hello, I'm Stacy Martin. I'm a professional Scrum trainer as well. I work for Cardinal Solutions, where we provide Scrum training, and then we also ensure that we're delivering in an agile fashion across our organization.
One thing I do at the beginning of engagements is talk about all the reasons that these things may fail. And sometimes it comes across as trying to scare executives out of ever thinking about doing this. But there's some value in that. So wherever we're at in the engagement, I think it's important to revisit that. And it comes from multiple sources, all the surveys, annual surveys that we look at. But basically, there's 8 main reasons I've seen and patterns across engagements on why this may fail. So to start out, on the resistance side of it, there's lack of training, right? It could be insufficient training, going it alone, we haven't had any training, or it could just be we got bad training. And then there's the experience side. Experience meaning we've just never done this before, right? Where the training comes in. There's also status quo processes that get in the way. You guys have mentioned some of those things holding us back. And then there's teams that may resist, right? The change is hard in the organization and the teams are immersed in that. And then there's the culture in general may resist this. So on the resistance side, I usually highlight 5 things: experience, training, status quo processes, teams resisting, and culture resisting. And then additionally on the support side, there's things like lack of management support and lack of culture change in general. So those 2 things, the support side and the resistance side, and then connected all together by good communication, are usually patterns that I see on where this stuff all falls apart. Yeah. So I think it's important to bring those people into the conversation at some point, and refocus and say, hey, we talked about these things, or maybe we haven't ever talked about them, but these are 8 reasons, typical things we see on why this all fails. Here's what we think we're seeing right now. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah, we have an interesting perspective because we're the experts, right? So we've seen these things. We've seen things that are going well that we try to want to steer clear of. We see things that aren't going so well and are a total mess that people want to stop doing. But I think we as the experts can, it's similar to what Chad said, we can come in and say, we've seen this before. We can help you through it. These things are normal, right? We're coming together as a group and we're storming. You can expect it to happen. It's going to happen regardless, and this is how we're going to help you through this, right? So your tactic of letting them know up front is really good.
Absolutely.
There was a version 1 report that I saw. It was a bar chart that showed all the different reasons that people are complaining why Agile adoptions are failing. And I think of the top 10, you've pretty much hit on most of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cultural barriers to adopting agility and things like that. So in an executive course I teach, I show that slide to everybody in the room, and it's like, yeah, well, it's not surprising if you're running into these issues. These are the most common issues in the industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I've seen, especially with the example that I was telling you, is that was only part of the story. After a sprint or 2, what happened was the testing team members, especially the testing specialist, didn't want to really collaborate with the development team members, and they were acting really weird. And I was trying to dig deeper into what happened to the collaboration, what happened to working together, right? Then digging deeper into that, finding the root cause. What I found, which was startling, was all these people reported to their organization, which is a QA organization, and they had a director, and they got a direct information from or directive from their director saying that moving forward, you all need to report how many bugs you are reporting in a day, and it needs to be recorded in your in the bug tool, whatever they're using at that time. And that way, we need to know how how much quality people we have in this organization. So these people didn't want to talk to the developers, like they were very busy with, opening the bug reports and stuff like that rather than working collaboratively. So ended up happening was, I had to go talk to the director and found out why they were giving such directives, because it came from up above. The QA is being asked, the department is being asked, what kind of value are you producing? How do we know that your department is valuable, and why do we need you in this organization? So one thing they're easy for them to come up with, oh, my people are amazing testers, they are good in opening bugs, so we are gonna show how many bugs we are gonna open.
Right. That's not what we want, right?
Exactly.
But you probably had to dig to get to that root cause,
Yeah.
because they may not have been able to see that root cause, because they were just distracted by the symptoms,
Yeah.
right? The symptoms are thrown in their faces.
Absolutely.
And you could
Yeah.
kind of step back and say, okay, I'm seeing like this might be the root cause that we need to work on or attack a little bit.
Yeah, tying back to what Chad was saying, like lack of training from the management perspective,
Yeah.
lack of experience on what Scrum is or how these teams are supposed to be operating, and purely there is no support.
Yeah, and I think having the conversation alone is just the starting point, like
Yeah.
calling out the resistance that we're experiencing with the key players in the room, with the team members in the room, that's important.
Yeah.
And then whether you're an external change agent like a consultant or an internal change agent like a Scrum Master, I think that's the opportunity then to, for example, if you're using Scrum, dive into the fundamentals, refocus, go back to the fundamentals and ask some questions like, do we even have cross-functional teams? Did we ever?
Yeah.
Do we have working product increments at the end of every sprint, right?
Right.
Really going back to those fundamentals
Yeah.
can help refocus the organization.
Yeah.
And you bring up managers and a lack of training. A few organizations I've worked in have no training program whatsoever for their managers. So top subject matter experts get promoted into levels of power and quickly find themselves at the top of the Pieper principle, where they're promoted to their own or the highest level of incompetence. And rather than acting like coaches to the team, they often act like barriers or control systems that sub-optimize the system by looking at local metrics only.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and transparency, right? So I have to remind myself that in the situation I first talked about, even when things are going well, that transparency is a beast,
Yeah.
right? So right out of the gate, like everything you're doing, right or wrong, is just thrown right in the team's face.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that even in a situation where we may view it as something going well, that transparency can still be scary,
Right.
even in positive
Right.
scenarios.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And what's the goal, right? What's the goal for this team? Not having an individual goal, right? Oh, testers have this goal, developers have this goal, but what's the common goal for that team, right? Educating the leaders to set common goals is going to be critical here.